Welcome back to Keep It Real Boxing. This is Cypherbox. So I just wanted to do a video on Rigondeaux, and Rigondeaux announcing that he is now back in training and he's looking to return to the ring. Now the other week, I think it was last week, maybe the week before, he put a post up where he was basically saying that he was planning to come back, and it looks like he might be coming back to his old division of 122 pounds, and this is what the post read. So this is what the post said. It wasn't a mistake because I honestly believe I could do it, but it was too much weight for me. But I am here, ready to do what I was born to do. 3 fights, 3 good fights on my division to get my titles back from whoever got them. Now, what he's referring to there is obviously his loss to Lomachenko last December, where, let's be honest, Rigondeaux quit on his stool. I think it was, what was it, after the 6th round? So he quit on his stool. He put it down to a bruised hand at that time, but let's be honest, it was down to the fact that Lomachenko was just too much for him. It was too much for him, too big for him. Not be funny, it was disappointing to see Rigondeaux quit on his stool. I felt, you may not win the fight, but you could have gone at least another, gone the distance and finished on your feet with your head held up high, that you tried at least. Because when you think about it, it wasn't like Lomachenko was battering or beating him up, or beating him around the ring, or beating him to a pulp or anything like that. At the end of the day, he was peppering, and don't get me wrong, he was peppering him with the jab, and he was throwing loads of combinations Rigondeaux's way, but Rigondeaux wasn't getting beaten up in there, if that makes sense. Don't get me wrong, I'm not taking anything away from Lomachenko. Lomachenko is a tremendous fighter, and I gave him full credit to the victory. He did what he was supposed to do. But Rigondeaux, clearly, he's in that post, as I just read to you, he's clearly stating that he felt he could do it. He felt he could move up 2 weight divisions. And he felt he could beat Lomachenko at 130 pounds, but once he stepped into the ring, he realized that no, he couldn't do it, and Lomachenko was too much for him, and on the night was definitely too good for him. So credit to him for admitting that and not making any excuses. Now, like you heard me read out to you from that post, it looks as if Rigondeaux is going to go back down to 122 pounds, and he's looking to get back his old belts, and take on people that the fighters that are holding on to those belts at this moment in time. That's all good, I'm not saying he can't do that, and he's not got the ability to come back and get himself back into winning ways, and get himself in a position where he's he dominates the division again and stuff like that. I'm not saying that at all. My only issue here is with Rigondeaux's comeback is that I believe he needs to put the right team around him in order to do that. It's not enough to just have, and I'm not talking about his trainers. Yeah, I'm not talking about his trainer, his head trainer. I'm not talking about his conditioning coach, his team, his guys at the gym. I'm not referring to that team. I'm referring to his promotional team. I personally think, I've said this before, that I don't believe Rocnation is the right team for him. I personally don't rate Rocnation at all as a promotional company. I don't even really see them as a boxing promotional company, to be honest with you. And I believe that, it was a mistake for Rigondeaux to join Rocnation. I don't understand why he did that. And I've said this in the past to friends, and when, before I even started my YouTube channel, that I believe the best place for Rigondeaux is with Al Haymon and the PBC brand. Yeah. And the reason for that is, you take a look at Luis Ortiz, for example. Luis Ortiz, since he's joined Al Haymon and the PBC brand, he's had a lot more exposure. He's had a big fight with Deontay for Deontay Wilder's WBC belt. He's been shown on another undercard of one of their main events. So he gets a lot more exposure, and I think that's what will be perfect for Rigondeaux. I'm not saying Rigondeaux is going to be able to main event fights or anything like that. I don't think they're going to be able to sell him that way. Don't get me wrong. It's always been very difficult to sell Rigondeaux as a main eventer, or as a name in the sport of boxing. But what I think PBC and Al Haymon can do for him is that give him more exposure. So, for example, in Errol Spence's next fight, you could put Rigondeaux on the undercard. Keith Thurman if he makes a comeback, or other fighters like Deontay Wilder, put Rigondeaux on the undercard again. Do you know what I mean? So when they have these big cards, when they've got their big stars, the Charlo brothers are fighting, put him on the undercard. He'll be able to get more exposures, more fights under his belt, and people will be able to see him a lot more, and that will help him get more exposure in terms of viewership from boxing fans. Because you have to remember, Rigondeaux isn't getting any younger. He's approaching 40. These are probably the last years of his career and stuff like that. So it's important for him to have the right team around him. And like I said, I believe he should join Al Haymon and the PBC brand. I think it will do wonders for him and his comeback trail and his career and the end part of his career. That's the way I look at it. Look, this isn't a video trying to knock Rigondeaux or anything like that. I think Rigondeaux is a tremendous fighter. I've always enjoyed watching his fights. I know a lot of people don't like Rigondeaux and don't like watching his fights. But me as a boxing fan, I like all styles of boxing. Yeah, but I'm the biggest fan of boxers and technical fighters. I thoroughly enjoy watching those sorts of fights and those sort of boxers. And Rigondeaux is one of those boxers, and I've always enjoyed watching his fight. And I wish him all the best. In terms of his comeback trail, of course. Another thing I want to add before I finish this video is it'll be interesting to see how Rigondeaux reacts from a psychological point of view, in terms of his loss to Lomachenko and how he comes back from the fight, from that loss. What kind of mentality will he have in the ring on his return? Will it affect him? Won't it affect him? So there's loads of things there, loads of questions there I feel that still need to be answered in terms of Rigondeaux and his comeback. So, I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure he'll start the fight. His first fight will probably be a tune-up, and then get back into it. So it'll be interesting to see. For me, anyway, personally, remember this is my personal opinion. For me personally, it'll be interesting to see what happens next with Rigondeaux and his comeback after his defeat to Vasyl Lomachenko. That's all I really had to say on this one, guys. As always, like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, this is Cypherbox reminding you to keep it real.